是来打秋风吗？不如一并做了。
老如来，你与我们联手，灭掉此辽还不轻松。
At the end of episode 66, a colossal Buddha statue appeared in the sky. It was none other than Mount Meru. Standing atop the mountain was a group of top experts from the Great Layan Temple, led by old Rulai himself. Right Guardian put her hands on her hips and sneered at the sky. Bald donkey, if you've got the guts, stay. This old woman can curse you for 3 days and 3 nights without repeating a single insult. A bodhisattva sneered back. Juebi, all you have left is that sharp tongue. Ignore them, old Rulai said calmly from atop Mount Meru. If we keep bickering, it could drag on for half a year. We've fought for centuries and argued for centuries more. There's no need to rush now. Let us first take control of this battlefield. The monks did not stop. The vast apparition of Mount Meru drifted steadily toward the battlefield. At that moment, the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor was still fighting Teacher Poor and the others, intent on eliminating all these powerful cultivators before Mount Meru arrived. Suddenly, old Rulai's unhurried voice echoed through the air. Imperial Preceptor, fellow Dao friends, may I trouble you with a small request? The Imperial Preceptor's sword key dispersed. He stopped pursuing Teacher Poor and the bronze-masked man smiling faintly. Rulai, please speak. Excellent, old Rulai said solemnly. I ask that Dao friends hold back. Teacher Poor and the others tensed, ready to strike, but hesitated upon hearing Rulai's words. True Lord Tian, her heart and lungs badly injured by sword, Qi coughed up blood as she shrieked, Old Rulai, are you planning to join forces to eliminate this evil? Old Rulai shook his head. Wanderer Li's expression darkened. He sneered. Could it be that Great Thunderclap Monastery has also become dogs of the Eternal Peace Empire, just like the Heavenly Devil cult? Old Rulai shook his head again. Teacher Poor said coolly, Old Dao friend, stop dragging this out. Speak plainly. Old Rulai chuckled. I'm here to form good karma and settle this dispute. Everyone present is a cultivator. If we continue fighting, how many heroes will fall? How many legacies will vanish? Why not turn hostility into harmony, end these karmic entanglements, and part peacefully? The Imperial Preceptor's gaze flickered, but he remained silent. Old Rulai turned to him and smiled. The Imperial Preceptor is kind-hearted. You once visited my Great Thunderclap Monastery, where we discussed Buddhism and Mahayana teachings. I guided your cultivation without sectarian bias, forming good karma. Might I ask you now to return that karma to this old monk? The Imperial Preceptor replied solemnly, Back then I was young and traveled the world seeking knowledge. Your guidance made me half a disciple of Great Thunderclap Monastery. Returning that karma is only right. However, how do I know I wouldn't be releasing tigers back into the mountains? These people are the masterminds behind the rebellion. Would they truly stop? If they rise again, countless lives will be lost. Rulai, you are benevolent, you should understand my concern. Old Rulai smiled serenely. This old monk will bring them back to Great Thunderclap Monastery and ensure they never interfere with worldly affairs. Again, what does the Imperial Preceptor think? The Imperial Preceptor did not answer. Old Rulai then looked at Teacher Poor and the others. Each of you was once an unparalleled talent dominating your era. After a lifetime of glory and power, are you willing to lay down your arms and convert to Buddhism? True Lord Tian sneered. Old Rulai, with our strength added to yours, wouldn't eliminating this evil be easy? If you let this chance slip, do you think Great Thunderclap Monastery will be spared later? Once he finishes us off, Buddhism will be next. Why won't you display your demon-subduing might and strike him down now? Old Rulai smiled gently. Whether gods or devils exist, as long as faith remains, Buddhism will endure. It will not perish because the Imperial Preceptor opposes it, nor will it flourish because he supports it. Those willing to let go follow me. Those unwilling, then, we are simply not fated. This old monk shall take his leave. At that moment, figures descended from the sky, landing behind the Imperial Preceptor. 100 Eternal Peace Generals stood there, armor soaked in blood, battle intent soaring. Duke Wei exclaimed loudly, What's this? Rulai's here too, trying to take advantage. Imperial Preceptor, let us clean up this old monk and those bald. The Imperial Preceptor raised his hand, stopping him. It's best not to let both sides suffer. Rulai coming to mediate is a good thing. Duke Wei stared in disbelief. They're clearly here to profit. recruiting rebel masterminds to strengthen Great Thunderclap Monastery, letting tigers return to the mountains. Trouble will never end. Imperial Preceptor, think carefully. The Imperial Preceptor smiled faintly. Rulai has given his word. They will no longer interfere in worldly matters. I believe him. You really believe a bald man with your life on the line? Duke Wei blurted out. The Imperial Preceptor raised his hand again, indifferent. Old Rulai leads Buddhism. Resolving grudges and restoring peace is a virtuous deed. Besides, I'm injured. On Mount Meru, the Bodhisattvas and Arhats turned their heads. Old Rulai chanted a Buddha's name to silence them, then smiled. Since the Imperial Preceptor agrees, what about you, Teacher Poor? Teacher Poor and the others exchanged glances and nodded in silence. They had no choice. Old Rulai smiled warmly. With grudges laid to rest, this illusory world shall no longer bind you. You will surely attain the Tao. Imperial Preceptor. The Imperial Preceptor suddenly pointed at the bronze-masked man. Rulai. He stays. The bronze-masked man felt a chill run through his heart. He stays, the Imperial Preceptor repeated lightly, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. Old Rulai sighed. You have no karmic affinity with Buddhism. Teacher Poor, fellow Tao friends, please ascend the mountain. Teacher Poor hesitated, then clenched his teeth and followed. Old, we're sorry. No need. I understand. The bronze-masked man laughed loudly. Imperial Preceptor. How do you intend to deal with me? I will take you alive, the Imperial Preceptor said coldly, and escort you to the capital to meet the Emperor. The bronze-masked man's smile turned strange. Then we'll see if your sword is fast enough. He raised his palm and smashed his bronze mask, shattering both mask and face beneath. The Ling family's empire will fall by your hands sooner or later. His head split apart. He died instantly, body standing upright like a pillar. The Imperial Preceptor did not stop him. Far away, Chinmu's eyes twitched. He understood everything. On the apparition of Mount Meru, a bodhisattva clasped his palms together. My Buddha, the eternal peace Imperial Preceptor, said he was injured. Why didn't we seize the opportunity? Was it real or fake? Old Rulai asked gently. The bodhisattva froze. Disciple does not know. Old Rulai smiled. Those who believed it was real have already lost some, even lost their lives. Teacher Poor wasn't your defeat, precisely because you believed he was injured. Teacher Poor and the others fell silent, their expressions ashen. Spiritual Master Dao Quan was filled with remorse. From Chinmu's medicinal residues, he had deduced that the Imperial Preceptor was gravely injured, and everyone had believed it. That belief was what led them to choose the second path, the martial solution. Yet he could not shoulder all the blame. The ambush by the three ancient monsters, Teacher Poor, Wanderer Li, and True Lord Tian, should have severely wounded the Imperial Preceptor. These three were peak existences of the present era, unrivaled in reputation and strength. No one would doubt their capabilities. Compared to them, even a once-in-500 years genius like the Imperial Preceptor should have been at a disadvantage. Everything afterward only reinforced that assumption. He lectured at the Imperial College for merely 2 days, masking the stench of his wounds with incense. The Dragon Rider sect's Dragon King visited his manor at night and left unscathed. He was not detained. During his battle with Wanderer Zhen of Little Jade Capital, his injuries relapsed, forcing Chinma to treat him day and night. All deductions pointed to one conclusion. The Imperial Preceptor was severely injured and would need at least a month to recover, even with Chinmu's help. But all of this began with the ambush. From the very beginning, they had been stepping into his scheme. There were never two choices, only one. It's never easy to deal with a genius that appears once every 500 years, Old Rulai said calmly. Those 500 years don't only refer to talent and comprehension, but also strategy and foresight, things one sees only once in 5 centuries. If such a person does not become a saint, then he will become a lawless devil. Either way, the world cannot ignore him. Believe, he smiled faintly. Fools! Everyone was stunned. They didn't understand his words completely, yet they felt their weight, concise, profound, inescapable. Beggar sect Master Chi Dayu said he allied himself with the Heavenly Devil cult. He is destined to become a lawless devil. It's just a pity we don't know who the new cult master is. We do, Old Rulai replied with a smile. It is the young man who returned my greeting earlier. Everyone was shocked. This old monk once had karmic ties with him, and wished to guide him to Great Thunderclap Monastery. Unfortunately, that fate was severed and passed on to another remarkable being. One step too late. Only one step. Duke Wei stared at the headless corpse being sealed into a coffin. Imperial Preceptor, you're smarter than I am. Didn't you see the problem with Mount Meru's arrival? They clearly came to take advantage, saving Teacher Poor and the others to strengthen Great Thunderclap Monastery. Leaving them alive will only cause trouble later. They only have 10 to 20 years left, the Imperial Preceptor replied calmly. Let old Rulai save them. I expected him to seize the timing. I was injured, there was no strength to stop him. Duke Wei narrowed his eyes. Real or fake? It's real. You sure? The Imperial Preceptor frowned. Of course it's real. Try fighting those people yourself. 3 godlike existences among them. How could I emerge unscathed? I don't believe you, Duke Wei snorted. Anyone who believed you is already lying in a coffin. The Imperial Preceptor smiled helplessly. I'm actually quite honest sometimes. That's exactly why you're terrifying, Duke Wei muttered. You should know who's in that coffin. I can't say. I'll find out when we return. We'll see which old prince suddenly died. He lowered his voice. There's turmoil within the Ling family. This won't be the last incident. What if the Empress Dowager is involved? You should just take one more step, become emperor yourself. A murderous glint flashed in the Imperial Preceptor's eyes. Duke Wei jumped. I'm just repeating what others think. Your merits have reached the limit. There's nothing left the Emperor can reward you with. Another great achievement, another rebellion quelled. What can he give you? The throne. The Emperor and I are sworn brothers, the Imperial Preceptor said quietly. He knows I seek no reward. I only wish to fulfill my lifelong aspiration. And that's exactly why he's troubled. Duke Wei sighed. If he doesn't reward you, the world will resent him. If he does, there's nothing left to give. The Imperial Preceptor walked forward. I walk my own path. Say no more. Go cleanse the remnants of the rebellion. I'm going to find the little divine physician. You're really injured? Duke Wei asked suspiciously. The Imperial Preceptor didn't bother replying. When Qin Mu examined him later, he discovered over 100 injuries, many internal. Some infested with venomous insects, others embedded deep within the divine treasures themselves. Even the soul was wounded. Treating him would be an immense undertaking. As Qin Mu worked, the Imperial Preceptor suddenly asked, If the Emperor rewards me with women and gold, should I accept? What else could he give you? Qin Mu replied calmly, inserting another needle. The Imperial Preceptor fell silent. Then take them, Qin Mu said. Imperial Preceptor, you should start a family. The Imperial Preceptor said nothing. When they finally reached the capital, white lanterns filled the streets. North Garrison King Ling Yinfeng, 8 imperial uncle, had passed away. The empire mourned. Shaimi understood at last. The mask had never been meant to come off alive. When Qin Mu heard the news, he frowned slightly and glanced at the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor. The man wore a mournful expression and said softly, I will go to offer my condolences at North Garrison King's manor. Qin Mu lowered his voice. Imperial Preceptor, why did North Garrison King rebel? He wasn't rebelling against the Emperor, the Imperial Preceptor replied quietly. He was rebelling against me for the sake of the Ling family's empire. My power has grown too great enough to unsettle him. He feared I would overturn the Ling family's rule. He paused, then said almost to himself, You were right. It's time for me to start a family. Even with heaven's law in one's heart, desire is still necessary. Qin Mu's expression turned strange. Someone like the Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor starting a family, this was something no one would ever dare imagine. Yet now it seemed inevitable. I'll return to my manor and change into subdued mourning robes, the Imperial Preceptor continued. North Garrison King contributed greatly to the empire. Though he disagreed with my methods, he was still worthy of respect. I must pay my respects. He then bade farewell to Qin Mu. Now that we've reached the capital, you won't need to trouble yourself with my injuries anymore. Wimmer nodded. The ambush injuries had already healed, and the Imperial Preceptor certainly had his own divine physicians. There was no need for Qin Mu to stay. When the Imperial Preceptor returned to his manor, he remained on guard. Instead of entering through the front gate, he vaulted over the wall. All the seals were intact, but he did not relax. Old Fu, Yuan King, he called out. No response. The manor was deathly silent. He stepped into the hall and saw servants and bodyguards bound together in a heap. His brows furrowed. Fu Yuan King, Little Poison King, was hanging from the ceiling naked and trussed up. His tongue protruded, grotesquely tied with a golden rope, the other end fastened to a massive iron weight. Swordlight flashed at the Imperial Preceptor's fingertips, slicing through the ropes. Fu Yuan King crashed heavily to the floor. Only then did the Imperial Preceptor realize his cultivation and divine treasures had all been sealed. He had been utterly helpless. After breaking the seals on everyone, the Imperial Preceptor asked solemnly, "What happened?" "I don't know," Fu Yuan King said shamefully. "I saw nothing before being hung up there. And even after my tongue was pulled out, I still saw nothing. Then they tied that iron weight to it. I couldn't even scream for help." "Old Master, is the manor haunted?" a servant asked tremblingly. "I didn't see anything either. One moment I was standing, the next I was tied up." "Haunted?" The Imperial Preceptor shook his head. "No. That person was simply too fast, so fast you couldn't perceive him. I know who it was. He took advantage of my absence to retrieve his leg." He paused. "If I'm not mistaken, my treasury has also been emptied." They hurried to the treasury. The seal was still intact. Fu Yuan King exhaled in relief. The seal's untouched. The thief must have failed to break it. The Imperial Preceptor sighed. "A phantom has no form. He can steal the heavens and swap the sun. Why would he need to break a seal? He can pass through it without disturbing it. The treasury is empty." No one believed him. He opened the door. It was spotless, emptied so cleanly it was almost obscene. The painting that once hung on the opposite wall, the back view of Sword God by Heavenly Painting Country's crown, Prince, was gone. In its place were large brazen scribbles. "Imperial Preceptor, I took back my leg. Thanks for the treasures as well. Your servants were treated kindly, so don't worry. Oh, I slept on your bed. After waking up, I took a dump on it. I even brewed you a pot of fragrant tea in your study. Our grudges are settled, no need to thank me." The Imperial Preceptor's face darkened. He rushed to his bedroom, lifted the blanket and staggered back as the stench assaulted him. "Old Fu." He waved his hand, pinching his nose. "Throw it away." "Throw it all away." Old Fu bundled up the blanket and sheets, then hesitated. "Old Master, the bed too." "Throw it away." The Imperial Preceptor strode into the study. The smell of urine filled the room. The yellow liquid in the teapot was unmistakable. With a sweep of his sleeve, he flung the teapot and cups out the window, his face livid. "Shameless. Taking his leg back is one thing, eating, sleeping, and defiling my manor is another. Old Fu, prepare a new tea set and bed." Old Fu hesitated. "Old Master, we don't have much money left." The Imperial Preceptor froze. "The Emperor's reward hasn't arrived yet. My salary is monthly at the start of the month." "Is this month's already gone?" "You took over half with you on the trip," Old Fu replied carefully. "The rest went to gifts, birthdays of kings and ministers, newborn sons, and the Empress Dowager's birthday gift was even rejected for being too plain." The Imperial Preceptor's head began to ache. "North Garrison King has passed, more gifts are needed. Are we truly broke? Is there anything to pawn?" Old Fu hesitated, then remained silent. The Imperial Preceptor looked around. The manor wasn't small, but it was bare. There was nothing of value. He disliked extravagance. Everything he owned was simple. The only odd valuables, Cripple's leg and the painting, had both been stolen. "Can we ask for an advance on my salary?" Old Fu asked calmly. "Old Master, do you still want your face?" The Imperial Preceptor hesitated. "Then, borrow some." Old Fu shook his head. "The people you're close to have all been deployed. Who would lend money when their masters aren't home? Unless you go yourself." The Imperial Preceptor muttered, "My painting skills aren't bad. I could sell a painting." "Will you sign it?" "No. If I sign it becomes bribery. Then it won't sell." That struck a nerve. "How would you know?" The Imperial Preceptor snapped. "I've copied the Crown Prince's painting countless times. I may not be art saint, but I'm not bad." "Old Master," Old Fu said gently, "this is the capital. Talented scholars are as common as carps crossing a river. Most starve while selling paintings. Compared to them, how do you think you fare?" Then he added, "Your disciples could lend you money." "Borrow from my disciples." The Imperial Preceptor scoffed. "I won't lower myself." Then he suddenly smiled. "I know who I can borrow from." When Qin Mu returned to Scholar's residence, a strong medicinal fragrance greeted him. His courtyard was piled high with sacks of herbs, along with a medicinal furnace and cauldron of extraordinary quality. Inside the cauldron lay a leg. Inside the furnace an arm. Kima froze. Linger Kilin, he said calmly, guard the courtyard. Don't let anyone in. He entered the main room. Cripple sat neatly dressed, hair glossy, black beard, tied with golden thread. Old Ma sat opposite him, travel-worn, one sleeve empty. Grandpa Ma, Grandpa Cripple. Chinmu's eyes reddened. Did you come to see me? No, Old Ma replied flatly. Cripple laughed. You live better than us. Why would we travel thousands of miles to see you? Don't flatter yourself. You're clearly here to see me. Chinmu snapped. I'm here to reattach my leg, Cripple said. See if it's still alive. I won't. Cripple exploded. You brat. Becoming independent now. We're definitely not here to see you. Old Ma coughed lightly. Stop teasing him. Look, he's about to cry. I'm not crying, Chinmu protested. Fine, fine, Cripple sighed. I'm here to see you. Then he grinned proudly. I just came from the Imperial Preceptor's manor. Took my leg back. He couldn't stop me. Chinmu smiled warmly. Grandpa Cripple, Imperial Preceptor, and I just returned. Which Imperial Preceptor did you see at the manor? Cripple stared at him. Chinmu stared back. Both wore gentle smiles, warm, trustworthy smiles. The kind that would make you feel it was perfectly reasonable, even if they stabbed you in the back.